Okay. And there we go. Emma,
Okay.
introduce yourself.
I'm Emma Cuzzocreo, the third generation of the Cuzzocreos that have been here in Orange. And
Hold on one
one of the
I'm just gonna let them know that we're gonna be quiet.
one of the remaining old ones. And let me start by saying Joe and I were married in 1951 when he was in the Army. And he was stationed in Fort Myer, Virginia. So we lived in Virginia for 2 years. And in 1953, after Roy was born, we came back to Orange. So whatever I tell you about the Cuzzocreos from before 1953 is mostly hearsay and information I got from my brother-in-law Ernie or from other people in town. So it's my understanding that when Gennaro Cuzzocreo came to America in the early 1900s, he went to stay with his cousin in New York. While he was there, he heard of a farm in Orange, Connecticut, that was for sale. So they say he took the trolley, came into Bridgeport, and then walked from Bridgeport to Orange to find this farm. When he got there, he saw it and he decided he wanted it. He purchased it, and that was on Indian River Road. And that was the first piece of property that they had for the Cuzzocreo family. As the years went by, he bought different parts of plots of land and added to the farm and added to the farm. But the story goes that he bought that piece of property, I don't know who from, but he bought it on a handshake. After that, he went back to Italy to get his wife and his child, Anthony, my father-in-law, who was there. At the time, he was 2 years old. Now, Gennaro, John, his name is, started growing vegetables. He managed to get a horse and buggy together, and he began to peddle vegetables and going to the market in New Haven. Uncle Ernie, who gave me most of this information, said that the original farm only contained about 20 acres of land. But there was an old house and a barn with it. As he continued with the farm, the Cuzzocreos grew and everyone worked very hard. The farm was doing very well, growing vegetables. Eventually, he was able to get a truck, expand his peddling route, and deliver to other towns and stores. I don't know exactly when all this happened, but the farm got bigger, and I understand that he was buying more land in sections. I'm sorry. They built some greenhouses, and then they started growing more and more vegetables. Somewhere along the line, when Uncle Ernie took over, he made some kind of a deal with a contract with the Atlantic and Pacific Company, which was called the A&P stores, to deliver to their stores. He was going to New York and Boston and Connecticut, and they were planting more and more and growing more and more vegetables all the time and going further and further. Then they began planting seedlings and in the greenhouses. They ended up getting a bigger truck and expanding the delivery through all of New England. Somewhere in the 50s, they started planting ground cover and flowers. The ground cover, he planted between the trees and yeah, on the farm. He also had hotbeds.
Go back, Emma, can you just go back a second and talk about what they're planting in between the trees? We just stopped with the phone.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I missed a page here somehow.
No, you were doing fine. You were talking about the trees and planting.
Planting,
The,
yeah,
ground
because that was before the flowers. He was planting the ground cover, and well, I didn't put one. It was Pachysandra and a juga.
A juga, yes.
Juga, and so they were planting that ground cover. Then he had hotbeds on the hill, which was on the other side of the house, and they would put seedlings in there. He also went on to say how they sterilized the ground and, their way with bombs and stuff. I didn't get all that. But anyways, after they added the ground cover, and he was delivering a lot of vegetables, so his vegetable business had grown considerably. But then he started planting the flowers, which was a huge success. They said that he was the largest flower grower in Connecticut. That's what was said at the time. Now, whether it's true or not, but that's what it was said. They built about 20 plastic and wood greenhouses. They had 4 big regular greenhouses that they had built. But now when they did the flowers here, they built 20 plastic. Well, Ernie said 20 or 30 greenhouses, and started shipping flowers all through New England down to Maryland. Somewhere along the line, he purchased a greenhouse and a farm in Puerto Rico. That was run by a staff and a manager and stuff, and he would go down once in a while, but that was a profitable business for him. I have a story, I'm not 100% sure how true it is, but word has it that all the white flowers that were used for President Eisenhower's daughter's wedding came from the Cuzzocreo farm. As the flower business grew in leaps and bounds, Uncle Ernie built a greenhouse in Maryland. It covered a whole acre. And it was said to be the largest ever built. Now, his nephew Ernest swears that when he got older and was slowing down, that he donated it to the Department of Agriculture. Now, he thinks it's still there, but I can't swear to that. And
Worth checking in.
okay. Then Uncle Ernie, when he was ready, which was soon after that, he turned the farm over to Ernest Jr., who ran it for a few years, and then it was sold off in sections to businesses. the farm, the farm went from peddling veggies by horse and buggy to $1 million business. Uncle also donated land for, this is what I've been told, he donated land for Edison Road, money to build a pavilion at the High Plains
Right, center.
Community Center, and many other things in towns. You never would have heard that from Uncle Ernie, though, because he didn't talk about what he gave away. I lost my head here. Sorry about that.
We can just cut this blank part out, so take your time.
There you go.
Now, Grandpa had 7 children, and a few of them continued on with businesses in town. The first one, Anthony, left the farm in 1928. He purchased a business on the Post Road and the property named Orange Rustic Works. The business is still in operation today by the same family. Frances, the daughter, married John Capisulatro of Hillside Farms. Ray, who became the first postmaster of the town of Orange, also had a little section in there that he grew nursery stock in. Mildred, the daughter, another daughter, opened the town fashion shop in Orange. Emil was a fireman in Stamford, and Mary worked for the post office. And of course, Ernest had Cuzzocreo. And now, we continue on. Aunt Millie's business closed up when she passed away. But we continue on with Anthony's business on the Post Road, which was, when he bought it, as I say, it was Orange Rustic Works. And it was right here, right where we're doing this. I don't know the name of the person he bought it from. I heard it was Mr. Dayton, but I'm not sure. He began to make, because it was outdoor furniture making at Orange Rustic Works. So Joe's grandfather, Joe's father, Anthony, began to make and sell handmade red cedar outdoor furniture. He made picnic tables, arbors, gazebos, did some fencing, made well curbs, and he would buy, he would buy a plot of land. I'm getting mixed up between Anthony and Joseph. Yeah, it was Anthony. I'm sorry.
You're doing fine.
Yeah.
He would buy a plot of land with a lot of cedar trees on it, cut down all that he could use, then resell the land. So it was like all natural wood. At some point, he added lawn ornaments and statuaries. He also raised and sold chickens and eggs and a pig once in a while. I understand at one point he had over 3,000 chickens and delivered chickens and eggs all around. One night, the dog got into the chicken coop and killed over half of them. Needless to say, that was the end of the chicken business.
And the dog.
And the dog, I was just gonna say.
The company continued growing and adding more items and doing more fencing. Between the 40s and 50s, while this was all going on, his sons, John and Joseph, had gone into the service, gotten married, and became carpenters. They went on to form their own business, which was called the Cuzzocreo Brothers Incorporated. They built several homes in Orange as subcontractors for Elmer Manley and the Grillo brothers and a few others I don't remember the names of. And then in 1958, Tony and Lucy, and it's Anthony and Lucy, decided to move to California to be with their daughter, who was quite ill. Joe decided that he wanted to buy the property and business from his father. This was not an easy decision because at that time, and we would have to sell our new home, which we hadn't had a chance to live in yet. The home, John and Joe were building this home on in their spare time. And it was years. I think it was something like 6 years, I remember, that we were waiting for, and it was like weeks away from move-in time.
Emma, where was the house?
Huh?
Where was the house?
The house is on, I can't remember the name, right on the lake.
Oh, okay.
In
All right,
fact,
Indian River?
And no, the little road that goes in there.
Yeah, Margaret Lane or something, and there's another one.
What's the name of that, Roy? What was the name of the road where Dad was building the house that we never got to live in?
Heron Drive.
Heron Drive.
Heron.
Like the,
It's the house that's right at the end on the left-hand side when you go in, out on the peninsula. It was gorgeous. So needless to say, it was not easy to say yes, but I knew that's what he really wanted to do. And also, the twins had just been born. But once the decision was made, Joe and I took over. Joe continued making and selling lawn furniture and ornaments. We also sold firewood, small above the ground pool, children's gyms, and equipment, snowmobiles, you name it, anything that would make some extra money, we sold. But he was concentrating even then on the fencing. And Joe also kept running the school bus, which we had for 47 years, I believe that's what it was. Make sure I'm in the right place here.
I think we missed, this one.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I think this one got stuck. So I think you were on 3. Does that look good?
Yeah, that's the one I need. I knew I was missing a page there. Fortunately, and because of Joe's guidance and everyone's help and hard work, the company kept growing until fencing was taking over. In 1967, Joe and Emma incorporated to Orange Fence and Supply Company. In those days, we used to mill our own lumber to make our own boards and make our own fence. Through the years, the children have been very involved in the growth of the business. Roy was loading firewood in people's trunks when he was 8 years old. Tony Marie helped me with the twins and in the office. When Roy and Tony were in college, they came home every weekend to help with the yard sales and deliveries. Even our twins, who were born with Fragile X syndrome and are mentally challenged, used to run the picket machine, put the hardware in the bins, and empty the trash, and lots of little things that they could handle. But mostly they ran their motorcycles and their quads around the yard. After graduating from college, Roy stayed with the company. Tony Marie became an attorney. As the years passed, the fencing business gradually changed. They introduced fencing made of vinyl instead of, well, we still had the wood and the metal, but the fencing, the vinyl was very well accepted and taking over the most of the business. Also, the big garage that we're in now was converted to a showroom and offices. All shop work was moved to the back buildings. And the fencing business kept growing and changing all the time. In 1995, Joe and Emma retired, turning the business over to Roy and Steph, our children, Roy, Steph, and family. Roy and Steph were married in 1977, and she began working at the company in 1980. As the children grew up, they also helped and worked. Two of the children remain with the company. Brian is in sales. This was not a good idea.
Doing great.
Pins and needles here, I want to hear what
I'm sorry. Of course, I'm a little nervous.
You're doing great.
David is running the electric gate division. He sells, installs, and designs where needed. Sometimes you gotta change things around for the
Gate handles?
the shape of the land that has to be fenced in. Daniel became a professor at Northwestern and is in Chicago. Matthew became a wildlife biologist. And by the way, who at the age of 10, because of a letter he wrote to Dorothy Berger, the select woman, about changing the town seal to an oxen and plow, and was at that time put on the committee at 10 years old to redesign the town seal. This was one of the few occasions that 3 generations of the same family served as town committee, members of the town committees. The company continued to grow and now employs approximately 30 people. Some of them have been with the company for 30 years. They also helped develop some products for the industry. One happens to be a concrete you can mix right in the hole. You don't have to mix it and move it. They also travel out of the state for certain regional clients. They have worked in every state in New England, plus New York and Long Island. Orange Fence is one of the longest members of the International Fence Association. Thank God the company is 92 years old with the same family and still going strong. The only member of the family that I don't want to leave out has never worked at the company because she was too little, is our granddaughter, Marcy, who became a nurse right out of school. And son-in-law Bob, by the way, was our CPA. And I end by saying Roy said he thinks we are the oldest continuing retail store on the Post Road with the same family, owned by the same family. And that's about what I have to say about the Cuzzocreo family. We're still going strong, we're still out here. And I think it'll be a while before they stop seeing Cuzzocreos.
Awesome. Well, I think you've got a very proud history, and I'm glad you shared it with us. And I also know that the rest of the family, and especially your husband, was very valuable to the town, and especially on the police commission.
Oh, Joe was on, I had a list of that.
Right there.
Joe was on 40 years, he was a police commissioner. 50 years American Legion committee member. And he helped at the county fair. First ever public service award from the Secretary of the State. He got a Good Scouts Award in 2011. He worked on the committee building the public library. We also developed a nonprofit home for adults that were mentally challenged. And he was president of the Rotary. And he got the Living Treasure Award in 2012. Something, I know there were a couple other things. Roy, what did I miss here?
He wasn't keeping track.
Can you think of anything?
Beyond that, that.
He was president, the International Fence Association. No, he wasn't president of it, but he started, I know what it was. He started the Connecticut chapter of the, in the International Fence Association.
Awesome. That is great. You guys-
Many of the other, Cuzzocreos. Roy was on Wetlands. I knew there was more. Wetlands Commission, Planning and Zoning. No, I'm sorry, I messed up. That was Roy. Roy, who now has and runs the Orange, the Orange Fence Company. He's on, he was on the Wetland Commission, Planning and Zoning. He was a selectman. He is now a police commissioner. Couple other things here I don't. Steph, if you remember them. Oh, Economic and Development Commission, and a member of the Chamber of Commerce. Our daughter, Tony Marie, before she moved away, she served on the Youth Services Commission, Wetlands, Human Services, the Townwide Building and Grounds Committee. Steph, Roy's wife, was on the Library Commission and Human Services Commission.
I think what we've been finding out from so many interviews is the amount of give back to the town that some of the longer standing families in Orange have done. And your family certainly is well represented on many, many commissions and boards. And obviously, we thank you. Something, I was amazed that you never got into that house you wanted to move into, which is very sad.
Into the what?
Into the house you were hoping to move into. Do you have any other interesting story that you could share with us? You gave us a lot of facts.
Well, I also want to tell you that I was on the handicap committee,
Okay.
the first one, and I got a Living Treasure Award.
There you go. Good job. Well deserved. You certainly did your homework, Emma.
Oh, funny stories. Okay. Well, one was that I remember hearing about. They were putting up a fence, and the yard was quite long. So the woman told them they could drive the truck in, and put the fence up. So they drove the truck in, and they started. The first day they put up all the pipe and got everything out there. And the next day they went in and they put up the fence and they finished up the job. When they went to get out, they couldn't get out. They didn't leave an opening. They had driven the truck in and they fenced themselves in.
That's a good one.
So they had to take the fence down, part of it down, so they could get out and start all over again.
Hopefully they learned from that one.
The other one, I'll tell you, when I called my daughter to get some of the things that she was in, she said, don't forget to tell them about the morning you went running down the post road chasing the pig. I do too. He
Did you catch him?
He would raise a pig once in a while, every couple of years or so. He'd get an idea to raise a pig. Well, one morning I'm sitting there having coffee, and I see the pig go by. Oh my God! So what was I going to do? I ran out and I chased the pig down the post road. Fortunately, one of the policemen came by and they knew me, so they helped me get the pig back.
I think there's a lot of stories about some of the former policemen helping some of us collect animals. Oh my goodness.
It was Benny Foyer.
There you
I know,
go.
yes, it was
Of
Benny
course.
Foyer. And of course, he never let me live it down.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, oh God, so many stories.
Can you tell
And
us
as I
about-
say, Joey and Jimmy, they were all over this place with their vehicles.
Can you tell us about what Orange was like when you were a kid?
I'm sorry?
Can you tell us about what you remember about Orange when you were a kid?
When you were very young here,
You
do you
know,
remember some of the things?
when I grew up actually in West Haven.
Okay.
I didn't come to Orange until '53 after Joe and I, but I was very close to Orange. I was just down past Malloy Road on the side street. And we used to come to Orange for their, they used to have the fair.
And they had the Fireman's Carnival, too.
Right. And my very best friend was Dorothy Riccitelli. I don't know if that family was up on the hill there for years. And we used to, come up here for a lot of things. They used to have the dances and stuff. So I knew, I knew a lot of the people from town. And that's how I met Joe, actually.
Did you meet him at one of the dances or at the fair? Remember?
Well, no, this doesn't have anything to do with the company. I met him at a party, Dorothy's cousin, 16th birthday party. That's where I met Joe. And I knew him from when we were 16 years old. I was 16 years old. Well, he was too. But I thought he was a brat and he thought I was a snob, so that...
So it wasn't really love at first sight?
I beg your
It
pardon?
wasn't really love at first sight
No,
then?
no. But through the years, he went in the Army, and Johnny went in the Army, and
Oh, that's great.
and then, like I say, Dorothy was my best friend, so I spent a lot of time in Orange. And they had a lot of little community things going on. I mean, of course, childhood today is nothing like it used to be in our days. You went someplace and you talked to each other. You didn't talk on a little cell phone like we do today.
True, true. Awesome.
But my early recollections of Orange is coming to a lot of any of the things that they had,
That's nice.
especially the outdoor ones.